Phantom props, particularly Phantom 2 props, authentic ones, can be expensive. I tried out some fakes earlier and it was almost disastrous. Here I'm showing you how easily the original Phantom 1 props from DJI will spin on and off. I mean, the quality control is fantastic. You can just tap them and spin it off, tap it to spin it on, and they go all the way down and pretty much seat all the way. You just give it a little nudge to check it. But see how easily that comes on and off? Well, I had some non-authentic, generic Phantom 2 props that I tried last week. I did buy a set of actual DJI Phantom 2 props, and they worked beautifully, all the way up to the point where I had a tip over and cracked 2 of them. So that was expensive. So I've got these counterfeit Phantom 2 props that I wanted to try. And I tried them last week and the thing could barely stay in the air. It was all over the place. You had to constantly make adjustments to keep it from crashing. So I saw a YouTube video, a guy named Will Urbina, U-R-B-I-N-A. He did a whole lot of prop testing. And what he discovered was that the biggest problem wasn't necessarily these generics being unbalanced, but the actual hub was the issue. So in his YouTube video, he showed how to use a 5/16 drill bit to drill out. That allows these generic Phantom 2 props to actually seat properly. And once they are seated properly, they seem to perform just fine. This little crude diagram shows you that you're going to be removing some of that red area there. So you really don't even get into the threaded area. So that's not an issue. So I'm going to go back and forth 4, sometimes 5 or 6 times on a couple of these props to drill out that little red area to allow these generic Phantom 2 props to spin down and seat properly and hopefully give me a better flight experience. I was a little worried at first that you don't want to drill too far in and get into the threads, which would then just weaken the integrity of the system. But it turns out that's not an issue. The threads are so far countersunk into that prop head that this drill bit will bottom out before it even gets into the threads. But I'm being very cautious and just removing a little material each time and then testing it, removing a little bit more and then testing it. Again, the successful test is if it actually spins down and spins off easily. I had one really stubborn prop that I had to kind of go back and forth on quite a few times. So you can see each time I drill out a little more material, these generic props will not only start to grab. I mean, early on in the video when I tried to spin them down, they wouldn't even grab the threads. So I'm not sure if they have changed the motors on the Phantoms so that the threads are the same, but the area right below the threads might be a little larger diameter, which is keeping these props from properly seating. I think well, I was able to force them on the first time, and it was a real pain getting them on. Like I say, the flight was terrible. But now you can see these are starting to fit much better. Again, if you're going to try this yourself, take your time. Just remove a little material each time and test it until you can get it to spin down. Now I'm going to place it upside down so everything is seated right. It shouldn't wobble on a flat surface. And here you can see some of the shavings that came out of just drilling out just those 4 props. Now I have previously balance these props, so they're pretty much in balance, so that wasn't the issue. It turns out to, I believe, the hubs which are the problem, just not the right tolerances to allow them to properly seat down on the Phantom 2 motor. Again, maybe the motors themselves have changed. Of course, the threads are the same, but the area right below the threads may have a larger diameter now, which I'm just guessing, which might prevent it from seating properly. Okay, it's like 7 degrees outside, but I was dying to find out if these changes were going to have any effect. So most of this I'm going to fast forward or either do some cuts to shorten this video. It's not very exciting to watch somebody hover, but almost immediately I could tell that there's a marked improvement. This is much more stable with these props than I experienced a few days ago. There you see my cat jumping in the window to see what was going on. So I'm just going to have a nice safe hover 8, 10, 15 feet off the ground right in front of me. I'm not going to get it out too far away from me or up too high, just in case there is an issue. In fact, I'll test these props 2, 3, 4 times, maybe each time going a little further, a little higher, before I have full confidence in them. But from this first test, I am very, very happy with the results. I thought I had wasted some money on these generic Phantom props, but this may have saved them. So maybe the next test or two, I'll actually go back and compare the flight times. The original Phantom 2 props gave me an increase in flight time, so I'm expecting to see that the same sort of benefit with these generic Phantom 2 props. Seems like I'm out here for an hour. It's so cold. Of course, it turns out I'm only out there maybe 10 or 12 minutes. And you can see I'm pretty much hands off and just let it hover. And it's a very, very stable hover. So if you have some generic Phantom 2 props and you want to salvage them, this might be just a key. Here I put a mask up just to highlight how much of a stable hover these things are providing. So this might be of interest to some of you. If so, I hope this helps out. And if you look in the description below, I will try to put a link to the video that Will Urbina put up that led to this modification. Hope this helps. It definitely was a benefit for me. Time to get warm. Let's do a hand catch and get out of this cold weather.